In episode 69, titled Essential Terms, Plain Language Glossary for the SSCP, the goal is simple and strict. Rapid definitions that you can hear once, picture instantly, and reuse under pressure. We will build a glossary you can actually carry in your head, purpose first, decision ready, and trimmed of jargon. Every entry will tell you what the term is for before it tells you what it is, then give a tiny cue that shows where it appears in real work. Think of this as a toolbox, where each label says what job this tool solves, not a museum plaque. By the end, you will know how to write, group, and rehearse these terms, so recall feels like muscle memory during study and calm reference during an exam or incident. State each term, then define it in one clear sentence that begins with purpose. Change control, a short, documented approval step that prevents surprise side effects before a system change ships. Tokenization, a way to replace sensitive values with reversible stand-ins so systems can operate without seeing real secrets. Pre-deploy checklist. Payment flow log. Help desk reset script. If a spoken form aids memory, append a simple hint, stress the key syllable, or say the common nickname, so your brain can search on sound as well as meaning. Brevity here is a gift. A definition you can say in one breath is a definition you can recall when the clock is loud. Group the glossary by domain so ideas live with their neighbors and your memory hooks to context, not alphabetical luck. Access control gathers identity, authentication, authorization, and account lifecycle. Network security holds segmentation, allow lists, egress, and monitoring signals. Cryptography collects hash, key, certificate, signature, and envelope patterns. Risk and continuity cluster RPO, RTO, impact, likelihood, and risk treatment. Operations and incident response bind logging, evidence, containment, eradication, and recovery. Legal and privacy cover controller versus processor, DPA, DPIA, breach notice, and retention. Software and DevSecOps link SDLC, SAST, DAST, secrets, and supply chain. A domain header keeps you grounded. Within each, terms line up as term, one-sentence purpose, tiny cue, so the list flows like a conversation you already have at work. Add a tiny example or decision cue to every entry so the idea sticks to a scene. For principle of least privilege, tack on cut the admin role from the service account before granting pipeline access. For egress filtering, cue deny any outbound except managed proxy and update services. For digital signature, cue verify release artifact before deployment. For key rotation, calendar entry with ticket and approval that proves it happened. These micro scenes keep you from memorizing in the void. The exam asks about consequences and choices. Your cues rehearse those choices until they feel routine. If you ever hesitate, picture the cue and let it pull the definition back into place. Where terms get confused, add a short, sticky contrast that survives exam stress. Authentication proves who you are. Authorization decides what you can do. Confidentiality keeps secrets. Integrity keeps truth. Logging records what happened. Auditing proves it met policy. Vulnerability is a weakness. Threat is what might exploit it. Risk is the chance of harm when the two meet. Keep contrasts parallel and rhythmic so your mouth can lead your brain. If two words are notorious tripwires, availability versus resilience, backup versus restore, incident versus event, pair them in one breath and anchor them to their cues. Uptime target, graceful degradation, tested recovery, ticket severity. Clean pairing stops second-guessing before it starts. Include a gentle pronunciation or stress hint when the spoken form helps. KERBO, ticket-based single sign-on for trusted realms. Mark identity provider to keep your voice on the operative syllable. For cryptographic names, say the common rhythm. HMAC, keyed hash to prove message authenticity, not secrecy. For legal pairs, slow the first beat. Controller decides purpose. Processor acts for the controller. Spoken anchors cut through page noise and give you a second way to fetch the same idea, the exact trick audio study depends on. Flag deprecated or risky terms with the safer replacement and one down-to-earth reason. SSL is retired. Say TLS because modern browsers and libraries use it and old versions are unsafe. Whitelist blacklist becomes allow list dentalist to be both precise and inclusive. WEP and TKIP are deprecated. Use WPA3 Enterprise with EAPTLS to resist password theft. Telnet is out. Choose SSH to protect admin sessions. Put the safe term first, the unsafe term second, and the Y in plain language, like old ciphers break, credentials leak, or no integrity check. These tags prevent you from repeating a phrase the exam treats as legacy and steer your muscle memory to the current control. For dense concepts, append one Why It Matters clause that ties the term to outcomes, not mystique. Zero trust. Design that treats every request as untrusted, so access depends on identity, device posture, and context. Perfect forward secrecy. Session keys change regularly, so stealing one key later can't unlock past traffic. Envelope encryption. Wrap data keys with key encryption keys so rotation is fast and exposure is small. RTO/RPO. Recovery time and point targets that tell you how long and how much data loss the business can accept. This clause is your practical stake in the ground. It tells your brain where the term pays rent. Legal and privacy entries stay short, accurate, and anchored to obligation and evidence. Data processing agreement. Contract that binds a processor to a controller's rules. Evidence, signed DPA, subprocessor list, and audit rights. DPIA, a risk review for high-risk data uses. Evidence, documented purposes, mitigations, and approvals. Breach notification, legal clock that starts at discovery. Evidence, incident ticket, timeline, regulatory notice, and customer communication. Retention, rule for how long to keep data. Evidence, lifecycle policy, and deletion logs. When you hear these, picture a document and a timestamp. That pairing will carry you through both exam questions and real audits. Weave cryptography terms with function-first cues. Protect, verify, prove, rather than math. Hash, one-way fingerprint to verify integrity. HMAC, hash with a secret key to prove the sender is allowed. Digital signature, asymmetric proof that a known keyholder approved the content. Certificate, a signed identity card that binds a public key to a subject. Key rotation, scheduled change that limits damage and satisfies policy. Nonce/IV, one-time value that keeps encryption fresh and blocks replay. Each gets a verb so your mind reaches for the right control when a scenario demands protect this, verify that, or prove who sent it. Insert micro-reviews every few terms to force recall before you peak. Ask yourself, which control proves a release file hasn't been altered? Pause, answer digital signature, then check. Which setting stops unknown outbound connections? Answer egress allow list, then check. Which two numbers set restore expectations? Answer RTO and RPO, then check. This tiny friction is the whole game. Retrieval practice strengthens the path you will walk on exam day. Keep the prompts in the margin or at the end of a domain cluster and speak the answer before you look, every time. Close each domain cluster with a 30-second recap that ties the terms to one scene. Access control recap. A contractor requests admin access from home. Authentication checks strong factors. Authorization grants a least privilege role. Session expires on inactivity, and logging records who approved and what changed. Network recap. A new app goes live behind a WF in a segmented VLAN with egress locked to proxies and update hosts, while flow logs and denies feed detection. Crypto recap. Code signing verifies artifacts. TLS with forward secrecy protects transit. Envelope encryption guards data at rest, and key rotation receipts land in the evidence folder. These micro-stories compress definitions into decisions, which is exactly what you will face. At the end of the glossary, run an alphabetical sweep as a fast lookup and spaced repetition sprint. The domain pages teach context. The AZ pass builds speed. Read a term, speak your purpose first line, and glance only if needed. Mix short stacks, 10 to 12 cards or lines, so you win quick. If a term keeps wobbling, mark it for tomorrow's first 5 minutes and add a fresher cue. The alphabet is not the teacher. It is the treadmill that builds recall stamina after the lesson. Use both and you will own the words rather than just recognizing them. A small shipping scenario shows the format protecting reliability without slowing delivery. A feature adds a new field to an API. Before merge, SAST and tests pass. A secrets check confirms no keys in code. A lint rule rejects a new allow all outbound. The definition, input validation, server-side checks to keep dangerous input from being treated as commands, triggers a quick encoder fix. Deployment signs the artifact and verifies the signature. Logging fields carry request ID and user ID without raw personal data. Rollback is noted in the change ticket. Every term in that chain is one sentence in your glossary with a cue you just used. That is the point. The words and the work line up. We will close with a simple routine that locks this in. Build your domain clusters first. Then, print or record a daily 5-minute drill that alternates a cluster day and an alphabet sprint day. On cluster days, read the header, speak 5 to 8 terms with their purpose first lines and cues, and end with the 30-second recap. On alphabet days, run the A to Z list in short bursts, skipping only terms you owned yesterday. Keep pronunciation notes for the few names that trip you, and tag risky, retired terms with their safer replacements. 5 minutes a day beats an hour on Saturday because recall grows in small, spaced steps, and your glossary will sound like how you already make decisions at work. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.